This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
It's the Noon Report from Family Life, bringing a Christian worldview to what's happening in New York, Pennsylvania, across the country, and around the world. Weather with Kevin Williams, and faith-focused feature stories with the Family Life News team. Now, here's what's happening.
The battle rages on. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Webster. The U.S. CENTCOM response to Iran's killing of 3 U.S. troops in missile and drone attacks has been fast and furious. Fox's Trey Yinks begins our coverage.
According to U.S. Central Command, a variety of different targets were hit, including Iranian military command centers, surveillance sites, maritime capabilities, missile and drone launch positions, and communications networks.
President Trump's reaction to word of U.S. casualties at a U.S. base in Jordan.
We feel very badly, but those great people, those great patriots are out there fighting that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon.
2 of the fallen soldiers have now been identified. Isabella Gonzalez of Texas killed on Friday. Tyler Feehan of Hawaii died on Saturday. Any chance of a diplomatic out at this point? Energy Secretary Chris Wright on ABC yesterday.
The president is always looking for the diplomatic off-ramp. President Trump wants to end it with a peaceful agreement with Iran, but it takes 2 parties to do that.
This morning, our time, Kuwait says it intercepted a new salvo of Iranian missiles and drones. Though never seen in public, Iran's supreme leader has reportedly vowed to widen the war if the U.S. keeps attacking the Islamic Republic. As that conflict again rises there, so do gas prices here. The national average price per gallon back to $4 nationally. In New York this morning, $4.15. Pennsylvania, $4.19. A changing of the guard in London.
I have accepted His Majesty the King's invitation to form a government.
This morning, Andy Burnham became Great Britain's new prime minister, telling a crowd of supporters gathered outside of 10 Downing Street.
I am acutely conscious that I am the 6th person in the last 10 years to walk up this street, the 7th prime minister since 2016.
Burnham replaces Keir Starmer. Many observers peg Burnham as a more socialist-leaning PM than his predecessor. Staying with that theme, Pennsylvania Democratic Senator John Fetterman sounding off after watching the party's far-left superstars, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders and New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, headline a rally in Michigan this weekend in support of controversial U.S. Senate candidate Abdul El-Sayed.
Humble yourself, Bernie. You just pushed an accused rapist and imploded up in Maine, and now you're pushing, essentially a pro-Hamas candidate that's been anti-American and deeply anti-Israel.
Fetterman speaking on Fox this weekend. New York City Democrat Socialist Mayor Zohran Mamdani says he's exploring whether Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu could be arrested if he visits the city for the United Nations General Assembly. Speaking on a New York Times podcast, Mamdani cited the International Criminal Court's arrest warrant for Netanyahu and called him a war criminal. Next, an update on the source of that cyclosporiasis outbreak. A lettuce sample from Taylor Farms that tested positive for cyclospora was a false negative, so says the FDA. Callie Neal, a professor of microbial food safety at the University of Delaware, says the investigation into the outbreak likely won't end with that lettuce.
It's likely that they will be trying to test a different sample. That is, of course, best practice. The Taylor Farms lettuce really is just about 1,600 of those cases. There are still 5,000 cases or so that are unaccounted for. And so that's where I think we're looking at multiple outbreaks, maybe with produce, maybe with water.
More than 1,600 people have fallen ill. Border Czar Tom Homan says from now on, at least one ICE officer body cam will be in play during enforcement actions, telling Fox he welcomes the cameras to bring clarity to incidents such as a recent pair of fatal ICE-involved shootings.
They exonerate more law enforcement than they convict. And I want officers wear body cameras. I want the American people to see what the officers saw when they took that action.
Holman says vehicle stops are resuming based on a directive from President Trump. Speaking of the name Trump, United Airlines is responding to reports that they're allowing passengers to swap flights if they involve an airport now bearing that name.
The carrier is refuting reports that United passengers can swap flights for free if they object to landing at West Palm Beach's newly designated President Donald J. Trump International Airport. Officials with United clarify that while reservation agents have general flexibility, their official policy strictly forbids fee-free destination changes based on an airport's name or its three-letter code, in this case, DJT. Natalie Rodriguez, Miami.
Now, forecasters say Tropical Depression 2 is likely to become Tropical Storm Bertha before the day's out. Parts of the southeast are bracing for increasingly heavy rainfall as that system continues to organize in the Gulf. And Second Lady Usha Vance gave birth Sunday to her fourth child. Vice President J.D. Vance making the announcement on X, noting that Alec Neal Vance arrived healthy and that the family's overjoyed. At 40, she is the first woman since the 1870s to give birth while her husband served as vice president. Still to come here on the Noon Report, AI data centers drawing some more protests, more tornadoes in our area to tell you about, and a nail-biter of a World Cup final.
Good afternoon. I'm Kevin Williams. The new week picking up where the weekend left off, but changes come tomorrow with showers and rumbles. Forecast details are up in 10.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Now checking the stories making news where you live. In New York and Pennsylvania, cleanup continues after our weekend of wild weather. Severe thunderstorms, some spawning tornadoes blew through New York and Pennsylvania Saturday. At last check, still about 10,000 without power across the two states. Victor, New York, near Rochester, among the hard-hit communities. This resident telling WROC she's thankful to have escaped injury after a neighbor lost a pair of 80-foot-tall trees.
When you think about the amount of wind that it would take to take something like that down, it's really impressive. Very lucky that the trees landed where they did and not on any houses or injure anybody, but it's just a matter of cleanup at this point.
For others, like this Henrietta, New York resident, water was the bigger worry after as much as 5 or 6 inches of rain fell in some places in a matter of hours.
The water had to go somewhere. It ended up in the back creek over here. The creek overflowed.
Several tornado warnings posted throughout Saturday afternoon. The National Weather Service office in Binghamton confirms an EF1 tornado touched down in Broome and Delaware counties. Across the border, the National Weather Service there confirms at least 3 tornadoes touched down. Jefferson, Clearfield, and Westmoreland counties seeing twisters. That one in Clearfield, an EF1, peak winds of 110 miles an hour. Some damage, but thankfully no injuries reported. On the plus side, the storm front did push out wildfire smoke, though there is still an air quality alert in place today for several counties in southwestern PA. And the threat of severe weather, as Kevin hinted, could be back with us tomorrow, along with some new wildfire smoke. The great data center debate continues. Protests against them in several areas over the weekend, including Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. This protester telling WNEP.
It's not a you or me issue. It's an us, a we, an our issue. And we need to stand together, show up, and put the pressure on your supervisors to protect every community everywhere.
Another protest in Batavia, New York.
I think overall, the community, we don't want this. I mean, when are they going to start listening to the people? We, the people, should have a say. We don't want it. It don't belong here.
New York Governor Kathy Hochul went on CBS's Face the Nation yesterday to defend her recently signed one-year moratorium on the building of any new large-scale data centers.
New Yorkers want protection. There's a lot of anxiety. Companies want certainty. We'll give them both.
But other states are viewing the regulation of those centers differently. Tennessee Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn tells Fox.
There are industrial parks in many of our counties and communities around Tennessee that want to host a data center.
There were anti-data center protests reported this weekend in more than 24 states. New York's Public Service Commission has fined 5 utility companies about $50 million for failing to meet customer service standards. The PSC, which oversees utilities statewide, grades companies each year on how they treat their customers.
So I'm supposed to not go to work so that I can pay you to wait around for you to shut my day for 12 hours.
Joe Jenkins with the Central Hudson Gas and Electric Corporation says the company understands where it fell short.
The time it takes to answer our phone calls, there's a requirement investment that we need to make in order to answer the calls within a certain period of time, and we did not meet that standard.
PSC Chair Rory Christian says the Commission's metrics are designed to push utilities to do better.
We want to make sure those customers are treated well, and that their problems are identified and addressed as quickly and expeditiously and efficiently as possible.
National Grid says it will use the Commission's recommendations to try to do better. A former Western Pennsylvania congressman has died. Republican Tim Murphy represented PA's 18th congressional district in the House of Representatives from 2003 to 2017. He passed away Saturday at the age of 73. A PA medical center is getting a hefty state grant to make some big improvements. Here's Family Life's Brian Query.
The Fulton County Medical Center in McConnellsburg is receiving $750,000 in redevelopment assistance capital program funds to upgrade the long-term care facility's HVAC system. The funding will be used to install a modern system with improvements to the air handling units, heat pumps, and ventilation. The funding for the project is part of $445 million that was awarded through the program to support 356 projects statewide. Brian Query, Family Life News.
Thanks, Brian. Police are investigating a home invasion at the Pennsylvania home of famed NFL running back Saquon Barkley. Police Captain Tyler Moyer says detectives are looking for at least 2 suspects. At least one of them broke into Barkley's home early Saturday morning while the Philadelphia Eagles star and his family were home.
All the occupants of the house were physically okay, obviously a little unsettled, as anybody would be, but no one was harmed.
He says it's not believed anything was taken. Police have released a photo of a white SUV that was likely involved. There have been a string of thefts targeting pro athletes. To Buffalo next, where the ministry 8 Days of Hope began its annual outreach effort this weekend. Nearly 2,000 volunteers from area churches and other organizations teaming up in the city's South District to provide free repairs and other services to more than 100 families and community spaces. Organizer Trace Gillis tells WIVB.
South District is a community of pride. We want the public spaces that they have access to be high quality, to serve them well, and we hope that some of the repairs and touch-ups that we're doing can offer that to them. And we think it's just a great opportunity for the community to unify, to come together, to serve one another, to serve their neighbor. So that's why we do what we do.
The 7th annual Buffalo effort runs through July 28th. And some young Pennsylvanians will visit the highest office in the land today. Family Life's Jeremy Miller tells us about it.
Yeah, Mark, President Trump will greet the 2025 Little League Softball World Series champions in the Oval Office this afternoon. The Mid-Atlantic's team out of Johnstown, Pennsylvania, clinched the title by shutting out Indiana 1-0 last August. This year's Little League Softball World Series will kick off on August 2nd in Greenville, North Carolina. Jeremy Miller, Family Life News.
All right, thank you, Jeremy. Well, telling us all about the World Cup final between Spain and Argentina is the goal of Randy Snavely. Here's sports.
Good afternoon, I'm Randy Snavely. Mark, it went to extra time before Spain finally found the back of the net, and they won the World Cup 1-0 over Argentina. To say Spain dominated play would almost be an understatement. They controlled the game so much so that the Argentina squad never really got a shot on goal until the 115th minute of the game. Spain outshot Argentina 20-2. Yeah, they deserved to win. For Lionel Messi, it was his final World Cup game. He finished the tournament with 8 goals and 4 assists. On to baseball, the Dodgers beat up on the Yankees in the first game of their doubleheader. Yoshinobu Yamamoto spun a 4-hitter for his first regular season complete game. Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, and Tommy Edman all drove in 2 in the victory. In the nightcap, the Yanks got a tie-breaking home run from Jazz Chisholm Jr. in the 8th inning, and they earned a split of the pair with a 2-1 win. Elsewhere, Nolan McLean struck out 10 Phillies, allowed only 2 hits over 6 scoreless innings. The Mets handled Philadelphia 6-1. Frankie Lindor, the hitting star, had a home run and he drove in 3. Paul Skeens fanned 8 over 7 innings, and Billy Cook had a career-high 3 hits and drove in a pair as Merlin Valdez hit a 2-run shot in the 9th in the victory. Also picking up victories, the White Sox, Red Sox, Braves, Orioles, Brewers, Cubs, Reds, Nats, Angels, Mariners, D-backs, and Padres, who pummeled the Royals 19-2. And in NASCAR, Joey Logano held off Denny Hamlin, earning his first checkered flag of the season. Chase Briscoe, Ty Gibbs, and Shane Van Gisbergen rounded out the top 5. That is a look at sports.
All right, thank you, Randy. Still to come here on the Noon Report, we'll recap some of the day's big stories for you. Bob Price with a guest from the Colson Center about an interesting new Bible study connected to the Truth Rising film. And we'll hear about a teen who had a great day at a Goodwill store.
Welcome to Breakpoint, a daily look at an ever-changing culture through the lens of unchanging truth. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet. Last month on his Substack, Dr. Anthony Bradley shared some newsworthy stories. Not too often, when young men attract media attention, it's usually for all the wrong reasons, unless it involves sports or music, maybe. These young men, however, earn this attention through courage. As Bradley put it, and I quote, "The headlines have become a liturgy of bad news about young men. They're disengaged, addicted, angry, aimless. The concern is real, and there are many institutions working on these issues, but this is not the whole story. Lots of young men are thriving and selflessly changing lives in their local communities." In my book, this is Bradley still speaking, called Heroic Fraternities, I frame masculinity as, and I quote, "using your power, presence, creativity, and strength for the benefit of others." There are countless stories of young men doing just that, but those stories are drowned out by stories of the opposite, end quote. Well, telling better stories of young men is a passion project for Dr. Bradley. In a world where masculinity is regularly derided as simply being toxic, these stories extol male virtue and remind us that masculinity, when rightly ordered, is in fact good. And if we want young men to be good, they'll need to know that that kind of goodness is in fact possible. In the headline photo of the article by Dr. Bradley are 3 young men, Cameron Swan, age 15, Kervon Johnson, 14, and Cassian Wilson, 14, who saved the life of a child who was drowning. Among the other stories was of a teenage boy named Anthony Killinger, who kept his stepfather alive long enough with CPR so that paramedics could arrive. The EMTs credited Anthony with saving the man's life. And another story told about a 12-year-old running through his burning house, rescuing his 1- and 2-year-old siblings while guiding his grandmother to safety. Just a few weeks ago, 17-year-old named Jaheim Warner managed to stop a rolling pickup truck, break through the back window, and stabilize the woman who was inside having a seizure. On June 9th, 2 13-year-olds named Gunnar Skidmore and Cohen Chick saw an older woman lying hurt in her yard. Before they came to her rescue, she had been stranded there for some 16 hours. As Bradley explained, these are stories that provide a sharp contrast to so many stereotypes. Quote, "They didn't sit around passively capturing the crisis in front of them on their phones to post on social media, which has to be the height of cowardice. Instead, they put their phones down and risked their lives because someone else was in need. We need to capture those stories and celebrate them. We need to share them. Boys need to grow up hearing them over and over again. These stories are aspirational. These are the kinds of young men all parents should want their sons to be." Yes, stories like this are inspirational, but as Bradley put it, they should also be aspirational. Back in 2020, a 6-year-old Wyoming boy heroically protected his little sister from an attacking dog. And Bridger Walker not only earned those scars that day, he reminded all of us that it's far better to be a hero than a celebrity. So it's good when boys play soldier and fireman and policeman. These are instincts that should be encouraged and cultivated, not suppressed. And if we want healthy young men who know that their strength is there in order to serve others, we'll have to point them to these kinds of heroes, stories that they can admire and follow. Thankfully, as Dr. Bradley reminds us, heroes aren't just in the make-believe stories. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet with Breakpoint. Today's Breakpoint was co-authored with Dr. Timothy Paget. And for more resources or to share this commentary with others, go to colsoncenter.org/radio.
All right, thank you, sir. Now let's check in with meteorologist Kevin Williams.
Good afternoon. Here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. High pressure centered in central Pennsylvania this afternoon is our fair weather friend for today. That high will push offshore tonight, and a complex front in the upper Midwest will approach tomorrow with more humidity. That'll help to generate showers and a couple of strong thunderstorms. Behind the front, clearing, cooler conditions will follow later in the week. For this afternoon, ample sunshine and pleasant. High temperatures will be near 80. Tonight, partly cloudy and mild, certainly not as cool as it was last night. Low in the 60s. Tomorrow, warm and more humid, variably cloudy, a few scattered showers. Could be a strong afternoon thunderstorm. High temperatures, low 80s. On Sunday, cooler, less humid, breezy. Clouds break for some sun. Could be a stray shower. The high temperature Wednesday in the 70s.
All right, thank you, Kevin. This is the Noon Report on Family Life. I'm Mark Webster. Thank you again for joining us. Recapping the day's big stories, nearly non-stop attacks in the Middle East.
The U.S. military now singling out the Revolutionary Guard, which the U.S. says is responsible for targeting American troops. Iran striking back on U.S. bases in Kuwait, Jordan, and Bahrain. Video circulating online appearing to show projectiles raining down on a U.S. base in Jordan.
ABC's Allison Cusick. Retired General Jack Keane tells Fox News it all continues to boil down to who controls the Strait of Hormuz.
What is the fuss all about with the Straits of Hormuz? This is a strategic asset that exceeds the nuclear deal. This is a means for them to have influence in the region and control the distribution of oil, something they have always wanted to have. They're wanting to fight for it.
This morning, our time, Iran launched missiles and drones at neighboring Kuwait, attacking infrastructure, including their critical water desalination plants. Yet another new prime minister for the once politically stable United Kingdom, which has been anything but united of late. Now it's Andy Burnham's turn to try to turn things around.
Making this a moment for reflection and new resolution. It requires my generation of politicians to raise our game and rise to the new challenge. Britain needs to show the world that we can regain our stability once again.
The 56-year-old Burnham, nicknamed the King of the North, succeeds outgoing Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who had led a center-left governing Labour Party to a big win just 2 years ago, but then had to step down last month after a chain of election defeats and scandals. It's the UK's 7th Prime Minister in just 10 years. The death toll from those 2 earthquakes in Venezuela has grown to more than 5,200 now. Updated figures from the government on Sunday also noted more than 16,000 injured. E-bike accidents, including some fatal ones, have been happening with increasing frequency in our area as well as other states. Dr. Purva Grover with the Cleveland Clinic says she's seeing a lot of patients with e-bike injuries, some perhaps because they were wearing a regular bike helmet, not a specific e-bike helmet.
The kids think sometimes that they can zoom around, go from sidewalk to road and just like having a bike, but because of how fast they can go, because of the enormous inertia and the trauma which can happen with it, they can be hit by other cars, which is something we see very commonly.
She urges parents to talk to kids about rules of the road to try to lower the chances of a dangerous e-bike crash. The FDA says a lettuce sample from Taylor Farms that tested positive for cyclosporiasis was actually a false positive. The company says it is voluntarily recalling iceberg lettuce that was grown in central Mexico after it was linked to the current outbreak of that gastrointestinal illness. But the FDA says as of yesterday, there were no samples that tested positive for the parasite. Now the celebration is on in Spain.
Spain, for the second time in their history, have won the World Cup.
Spain knocking off Argentina 1-0 in extra time. The Spanish fan was happy to spend the extra time celebrating in the Meadowlands.
I took a flight just to be here for the match, and I know it was worth it, and I know they would win. Viva España!
Meantime, some arrests reported in Argentina as upset fans there took to the streets. And are you ready for some American football? Well, ready or not, all 32 NFL teams start training camp over the next 2 weeks. Rookies for the Seahawks and 49ers are already at their team's facilities. Rookies for the Bills, Panthers, Texans, Dolphins, and Patriots are set to report tomorrow. The NFL regular season, 51 days away. You're listening to the Noon Report on Family Life.
Hi, I'm Bob Price, and this is a Family Life News special report. The Colson Center is an organization dedicated to helping Christians live out their faith in the public square. They've just published a new 4-part small group Bible study on how to do that exactly. It's a companion guide to a 90-minute film that was released last year called Truth Rising. I spoke with the Colson Center's Pete Mara a short while ago about Truth Rising, the study. And here's more of our conversation.
Truth Rising, the film, which you just mentioned, was a documentary done between the Colson Center and Focus on the Family to really talk about the moment that we find ourselves in as a Western civilization. It featured Os Guinness, John Stonestreet, and various voices. But the film kind of framed up the whole idea of Western civ. Started in Rome and ended in the U.S. And it's a great narrative, great film. Highly recommend it. But the question after that film is, okay, we see this, we feel this, we recognize something's off in our civilization in the West. What do we do?
Yeah.
So we put together Truth Rising, the study, and the study's free. It's available for any Christians. They can go to colsoncenter.org/truth, and they can get the study. And the study consists of the film, so the full film is there available if they haven't seen it or people haven't seen it. And it consists of 4 teaching pillars: hope, truth, identity, and calling.
Yeah.
And these are 4 different studies.
I love in the film, and I agree with you, highly recommend it. If you haven't seen it, just go to Truth Rising, the website, and you can get it there, or Breakpoint, or Focus on the Family. You can get a lot of different places. But the stories of the individuals you tell in the film, there's so many wonderful stories of faith under fire. Are their stories included in the study?
There are. Their stories are in there as well as some others. You know, when people come under fire, we look at some of these leaders like Jack Phillips, for instance, and we think that they just woke up one day and had the courage to stand for their faith and then face the onslaught and all the challenges. But the reality is Jack and people like Jack are just normal, everyday Christians like most of us going through our day, but they took the time to build that deeply rooted faith. So when the opportunity came for them to be courageous, they were able to take a stand. And their stories are great. And each video highlights a different person around hope, around truth, around identity or calling.
Yeah, the narrator, Os Guinness, talks a lot about we're at a civilizational moment in our country, as we embark on America 250. And a lot of folks are asking the question, could America survive another 250 years? Because it seems like every 250 years, a culture throughout antiquity goes through this civilizational transformation. Do you think, Pete, we are at that point in our country's history?
I'm not nearly as wise as Os Guinness, but I think it doesn't take us as Christians much to see that the world is very disorienting and something has fundamentally shifted. I think for Christians, the question is, what are we going to do about it? Are we going to accept that we're in decline? Are we going to embrace renewal, which is what Oz talks about? And I think the answer for us as believers is that God has called us to be people of hope, grounded in the truth of God's story. And when we do that and we live out our calling in each and every day of our lives as teachers, plumbers, doctors, whatever it is that we do, when we live that faithful calling out, we can help restore this broken world that we live in.
Yeah. So, Pete, in real practical terms, how does this study help people of faith live that courageous Christian life?
The way that it helps people is it helps ground them in a Christian worldview. So again, if they go to colsoncenter.org/truth, they can get the study. It starts with the idea of truth. We are people of truth, God's full redemptive story. We live in hope. We believe that Christ has died, Christ is risen, Christ will come again. And it gives us very tangible, practical ways to understand how we can see the world as Christians, how we can live out those Christian values in our spheres of influence. Quite frankly, sometimes worldview can be a little esoteric, right? These big civilizational problems. But the reality is each and every Christian has been called to a sphere of influence that God has equipped them for, that God has made them for, and called them to this time and place. So we really work at helping people understand their calling and encourage them to live faithfully in it.
Amen. Highly recommend you all watch the film Truth Rising. It's only about an hour and a half, and it's I saw it last fall. It's just so good. And those stories of those individuals that are interviewed by both John Stonestreet and others, just so inspirational. If you are in that position in your life where you just feel like, what good does this faith have? Just watch the film and you'll see it. And finally, Pete, who is this study designed for? I imagine a Sunday school class, it might be a great study, but who in particular is this this study designed for?
Yeah, this study is designed for the everyday Christian. It's designed for Bible studies inside a church. It can be done as a small group study. I even had reports of somebody this summer holding a pool party and inviting people over to their swimming pool, and they're watching one episode a night. It's designed so that you have about a 20-minute teaching block. We give you study guides and everything you need at the website, so you can download all those things, and Christians of all starting points can dive in and be equipped.
That is Pete Mara of the Colson Center. Again, that free 4-part small group Bible study, Truth Rising the Study, is available at colsoncenter.org/truth. That's colsoncenter.org/truth. I'm Bob Price, and this is the Noon Report on Family Life.
All right, thank you, Bob. Don't forget you can check out every one of our Family Life News original features online anytime at Apple Podcast, YouTube, Spotify, or FamilyLife.org. Finally at noon, call it a good day at Goodwill. Portland, Oregon teen Quinn Brown likes to go there, rummage around for bargains, and boy, did he ever find one. An LA Lakers warm-up jacket belonging to the legendary Wilt Chamberlain. He tells KPTV,
none of us ever thought something like this would happen, especially just for $3 at a Goodwill. I was just doing this because I really enjoyed it, never expecting anything like that.
And he almost didn't get it. When he first saw it, it was in another shopper's hands.
He just threw it right in front of me, immediately grabbed it, and one of the best moments of my life.
Indeed, suspecting he had something special, he eventually sent it off to the famed Sotheby's auction house, which verified it was Wilt's warm-up from the 1972 NBA Finals. It's up at an online auction with bidding at $50,000 and rising. Sotheby's guesses it could end up fetching up to $250,000 when that auction ends tonight. Credit the 19-year-old, though, for some grown-up wisdom on his plans for the windfall.
I really just want to save it. I know that if I put this money away, it's going to grow and could potentially mean retiring a lot earlier in my life.
Maybe, as long as the bidding doesn't wilt. And that's the world we live in for Monday, July 20th, 2026. As always, we thank you for listening. I'm Mark Webster, Family Life News.
You've been listening to the Noon Report, heard weekdays on Family Life. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.